So I'm Roland. I'm the director of Camino Ways, and I am with Juanma, which is a sales manager, and we are going to give you a presentation of the Camino de Santiago, the most popular, the French way. Are we ready, Juanma?
I am indeed, Roland. Ready for another good night of talking about the Camino. We can't ever get enough of it.
Oh, okay, yes. So let's just gonna present Camino Ways, the company first, and then after we can go through the Camino Frances. So we are a tour operator. We are based in Dublin, in Santiago as well. We organize walking and cycling tours, guided with a guide or self-guided. You go just yourself or with friends or with family. We offer 24/7 support when you're on the route, so there's no problem. We offer tours with nice hotels with a bathroom en suite. And we also gonna we carry your luggage on a daily basis from hotel to hotel. We cater for groups as well, group charity and schools as well.
Roland, it sounds like you have said this a million times. How long have you been in business now? What number of presentation is this for you?
Oh, it's a lot, one. Ma, you've done a lot as well, but I think it's 10 years probably now. I've done presentation on the Camino de Santiago. Huh?
Many of them.
Yeah, many of
I've been
them.
here four, and I've done a fair few of them. So I believe that you have done a few more than me already.
Yes, exactly. So, Juanma, can you give us an overview of the various type of hotel that we're offering to our clients?
Sure, yeah. I mean, one of the greatest things really about booking with a tour operator such as ourselves is that we have actually visited these places many times. We have handpicked the hotels, and we could even come up with a couple of collections like the ones you can see there in the picture. To the left, you can see pretty much a standard hotel, a three-star hotel or a family-run hotel of an equivalent quality. They all have ensuite bathrooms. They all have your private bedroom, but they are just basic, no nonsense hotel. Everything you need as a weary pilgrim that arrives tired into town. And if you want to splash out a little bit more, you have one of the two options that you can see pictured as well on the screen. The middle picture would be our country cottages selection. They are very unique to Galicia and the surrounding areas. They could be more like rural farmhouses and very tranquil cottages in rural areas. Now, they're going to be on the Camino Trail. Most of the time, you could need a free transfer that we could provide, but they are very charming, very unique, very characteristic, great food. Or the third option, which is more closely located into the towns, are the superior collections, like the one you can see pictured on the right. That's actually a picture of probably one of the most famous upgrades with our clients, the Parador dos Reis Católicos in Santiago de Compostela. But it could range from anything from a 4-star to a 5-star Parador. So even though they are all hotels, they are all private, they are all en suite, you can see that there are different classes as well, and we are happy to combine them as well. You don't need to stick to one particular collection throughout the experience. You can mix and match a little bit and choose where you want to splash out a little bit more.
Great. Some people have said that the sound is cutting out. So I just would like to check that the people are hearing us okay now. Um, I'm just gonna wait for a second for the comments. If you
Always.
are hearing me okay now, just checking the comments. Okay. All right. Well, look, gonna we're just gonna continue.
Should we give it a try? Yeah.
Yeah. There's no more comments on this, so we'll continue. Great. Okay. So there's not one Camino. There's many Camino. Camino from every single pilgrim's doorstep. Some are starting as far as Paris or south of Spain or Portugal. Um, there is about maybe 16 or 15 or 16 routes that are marked where that you can take along the way. We've decided to focus this presentation on the most popular. That's the Camino Frances. It's the French way. It starts at the border of France. It goes across the north of Spain through lovely scenery and nice cities up to the city of Santiago de Compostela. I'm
Yes, of course. It's not the only route. When people think of the Camino, they tend to think of the French way, just because of how popular it actually is, because of all the movies, all the series, all the books that are written about the Camino are regularly, more often than not, based on the French way. There are a myriad of routes. There are routes stretching as far as Asia. So there are plenty of routes. But today we're just going to focus on that very, very popular one, the French way.
That's it. So, I was saying it starts in France. Have you been to Saint Jean Pied Port Juanma already?
I didn't did Roland. The start of the first section, the Pyrenees section, that takes only about 3 walking days, and it's also very very interesting within pilgrim. Inside the pilgrim area, just really as a very very scenic trail. Saint Jean Pied de Port is literally the foot of the pass, the foot of the hill, of the Pyrenees, and all the routes from France converged into these very points. Well, most of them, the Arles Way, for example, cuts across the Pyrenees in different places, but most of the European routes converged in this city, in the Pyrenees section of France, and that's where the French way actually takes its name. So it was all different routes that were coming from France converged into one, going across the Meseta, which we will talk about later, because really it was the easiest and the fastest way to get into Santiago. So Saint Jean Pied de Port marks that conversion of that conversion of all the different routes.
Mm-hmm.
La Rue de la Citadelle, which is the main street, it's a beautiful cobbled streets, and there's 2 famous gates. Obviously, the Porte Saint Jacques, the Saint James Gate. It's a gate at the very start of the town, where you can see that the 3 different roads from Vézelay, from Le Puy, and from Paris are converging together. Really, really nice. And it hosts about 20,000 people, 20,000 pilgrims each year. And some of them make their full way to Santiago. Some others just go for the beautiful Pyrenees section. As I said, you can do the Camino in as many stretches as you wish and as many sections as you wish. If you don't have 5 weeks to complete, you can go for a shorter version of it. But starting in Saint Jean Pied de Port, it's obviously really, really beautiful. You will cross over the Pyrenees, as you can see there in the picture. There are 2 routes. You can take the Lepoder Pass or the Napoleon route, and make it all the way to Roncesvalles in one day. It's 26 kilometers. It's tiring, of course, it's challenging, but it's fairly well paved underfoot. I have to admit, I was very, very scared the day we set off for the first walk, and we found it not to be as challenging as we thought it would be. Having said that, of course, we took plenty of rests. We woke up very early, and we made it into Roncesvalles pretty much around 4:30 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon. There's plenty of time to enjoy tapas, to sleep a little siesta, and to be ready for dinner shortly after. The Roncesvalles Pass, the only thing worth mentioning really, it's that it's generally closed between November and March just due to the snow. It's a really high pass, 1,424 meters, as you can see there in the screen. But it is really, really spectacular and really one day that is worth the extra effort.
Okay, and Juanma, how did you get to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port? How did you get to the beginning of the Camino?
Really, really easy. We flew into Biarritz. Biarritz Airport. It's a small enough airport in the south of France. We took a shuttle bus that leaves very, very frequently to Bayonne train station. They are pretty much the same town. If you look at them from the sky, they are kind of merged together. And from Bayonne, the train goes directly into Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. We can organize a shuttle bus from Camino Ways, but seeing as we arrived very early, we didn't mind taking public transport because, as I said, it's very frequent. It's very well organized. You can buy it online before you depart. So very, very straightforward to get there.
Okay, Juanma, could you just turn off your camera because some people are complaining that the sound is not perfect. So I've just turned off my camera now as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so if I understand, you fly in Biarritz to Biarritz, you take the train to Bayonne, from Bayonne to Saint Jean, and then you walk 3 days across the Pyrenees. You arrive in Pamplona. I think people have heard about Pamplona because of a sort of first festival of the bull there, isn't it?
It is, yes, of course. It's really, really popularized by the festival of San Fermin, the running of the bulls. But the town itself, it's a real gem. Obviously, you probably could see very, very little of the streets and houses during San Fermin, because it's covered by a sea of people dressed in white with red handkerchiefs, as you can see in the picture. It is a fantastic time to be in Pamplona, of course. But probably if you're a wary pilgrim and you have to run in front of the bulls, you don't find it so funny anymore. Just try to match your Camino to your likings. If you want to stay there during the festival, or if you want to avoid it at all costs, that's completely up to you. Pamplona also has really, really beautiful things. It's not only a festival, really. It's not only a city hosting a festival. It was a really, really important city in Spanish history, and in the liberation, or the reconquest back from the Moors. And there are some very, very obvious remnants of it. The cathedral and the walled city around it is absolutely fabulous. It's fantastic to just go for a little walk around the walls, going into the cathedral, and obviously all the cuisine as well. That you start feeling the Basque country really as you get into Navarra. It is a really, really spectacular town as well.
Great. So you walk 3 days to Pamplona, and then you can continue along the Camino Frances, the French way, to Logroño, across the Rioja wine region. I believe it's most famous wine region in Spain. Is it?
We will give it the red. Yes. The red wine is the biggest producer. Actually, it was popularized in France. He was a Frenchman. It's a fun fact. There was a shortage of wine in the south of France, and turned out that La Rioja had a lot of wine left over, and it was shipped over, and it started becoming very, very popular in Europe, thanks to a shortage of wine in the south of France. I'm a better fan of French wine, Roland, I have to say.
Okay. That's great. So it's a really I've been there as well myself. It's a lovely landscape. It's undulating, and you walk across, and beside the vineyards. There's also a free fountain of wine as well, so you can have a glass. They don't allow you to take 10 liters, but you can just stop and refill your little bottle as you pass along. It's really lovely. There's a lot of little villages and old medieval bridge and castle along the way. It's a lovely section. It's actually it's a full week between Pamplona and Logroño, so gives you 6 or 7 nights. It works well. To go to Pamplona, you can fly from Bilbao or from Santander. There's a lot of flights from obviously from Madrid, but also from London. And London, Dublin, and various cities in Europe, Paris, to those two cities. So, and then after it's just a 1 hour to Pamplona or 1 hour to Logroño by bus or by taxi. So it's very easy to get there. Logroño has also a big historic center, um, pedestrian historic center. There's a lot of little cafes and restaurants, eating tapas and drinking white or red wine there. It's a really lovely city. Um, then from Logroño, you're getting close to the center north of Spain, in and you're approaching towards Burgos. So Burgos is famous for El Cid, famous character during the Spanish Reconquista or the reconquest of
Hmm.
Spain from the Moors. The city of Burgos itself, it's absolutely amazing. There's a beautiful, also kind of big historic center, pedestrian, fantastic cathedral, and few other lovely feature really. The food's amazing too in Burgos. There is a specialty of black pudding from there.
And the cheese as well,
Oh yeah.
fresh cheese. It's also another really famous, the very cherished product of Burgos itself. Obviously, when we talk about Burgos, we have to talk about its biggest rival, León.
Yeah.
Of course, they are the two big cities in Castilla, León, and they compete really to know who has the most beautiful cathedral. They are very impressive, very beautiful Gothic cathedrals that you can enjoy both. Of course, they obviously compete against each other with that friendly rivalry of having two great cathedrals. But in fairness, you just have to enjoy both. Leon is absolutely beautiful as well. The architecture around the old town is really beautiful. You Once you get into the walled town, it's really nice. You pass all these narrow alleys, narrow cobbled streets. You get into the barrio húmedo, the wet neighborhood as they call it. It's great nightlife, great for pinchos, great for food, great for drinks. And you can find some really beautiful gems, really like the Panteón Real, where you find the resting place of kings, of important, very important kings, back in the time when Spain was the huge empire. But you also find really beautiful artwork like frescoes, the museum, and you find the shrine of San Isidoro as well, which is a very revered saint in León. The picture there on the bottom left, it's the Casa Botines, which is also very important within modern architecture because it was designed by Antoni Gaudí. If the name does not ring a bell, the Sagrada Familia surely does to pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That quirky cathedral built up in the middle of Barcelona, if we can say built, because it's not finished yet. And from Leon, we start getting into a more rural area, and you start going towards Galicia. The last big the last big city before Galicia could be Ponferrada.
Yeah.
You pass Astorga with another beautiful Gaudi building like the Episcopal Palace, and then you get to Ponferrada, and all the modernity really gives way to medieval times with the absolutely stunning Templars Castle, the castle that we can see there in the at the bottom.
Hmm.
But before you actually even get there, you cross one of the most iconic and to me one of the most heartfelt points of the Camino, which is the Cruz de Ferro. It's just the cross that you can see there in the picture. It's a really, really tall cross, full of stones. At first sight, it doesn't look like the most impressive thing in the world. But when you think that people have carried those stones or those rocks with them from their homelands, or they have carried it from France or from miles away just to bring them there, it's a symbol of all the worries and all the sorrow that you could be possibly carrying with you, and you want to leave in the Camino. So it is a really, really emotional spot to arrive to. It is a really, really emotional place to spend a little bit of time there, because it is absolutely worth it. It is a very, very highly symbolic spot in the
Yeah.
Camino. Ponferrada is also the last big city in the Camino. It has about 70,000 people, and it has the last bit of stocks. If you need to stop in a sports shop, you will find a small one in Sarria, but we always recommend that you get all your last bit of shopping done, all your essentials done in Ponferrada,
Mm.
your pharmacy needs, blister pads, anything that you may need, really.
Yeah, and Ponferrada is also the last 200 kilometers. So if you want to walk 2 weeks, you can start in Ponferrada. Or if you want to cycle 1 week, you can start also in Ponferrada. So gives you, yeah, 2 weeks walking, 1 week walking. It 2 weeks cycling, 1 week walking. It's pretty good, you know. Um, we're getting into Galicia, and this slide is about Santiago de Compostela. But if you wanted to do 1 week on the Camino, there's a famous spot, famous city called Sarria, and if you wanted just to do 1 week and experience the Camino, experience the cafe, the restaurant, the nice atmosphere of the Camino, and just want to spend a week, you can just fly to Santiago de Compostela, take a bus. It takes about 2 hours, and go back to Sarria and walk your 1 week to Santiago de Compostela and receive your certificate. Yes, so Santiago is a really magnificent city. It's has a very big historic center as well, very walkable with a lot of things to visit: churches, museums, shops, all sort of things to
Convents,
see.
parks, monasteries, you
Yes,
name it.
absolutely. It's a sort of medieval baroque city, and there is three types of people. You got the people from Santiago. You have you've got several universities, so you got a lot of students, and you got the pilgrims. So it's a really happy mix of people from all over the world meeting in Santiago de Compostela. It's a really emotional place. It's the end of where all the Camino meet, and everybody meet at the cathedral. At the end, it's just very emotional to see that. Um, and yeah, and the food is very good in Santiago, isn't it?
It's good in all of Galicia, but especially in Santiago, of course. We have 367 official gastronomical parties with different dishes all around. So there is more than 367 local dishes, so to speak. Santiago being the capital of Galicia, it has brought people from all over the world, and obviously that brings the people from all over Galicia to come and showcase their local food, their local delicacies. And, as good as the Leoneses have the rivalry with the Burgueses, we have an internal competition in Galicia to know who cooks the best. So it's up to the pilgrim to decide. That's a really really good rivalry to have, especially if you're watching from the outside and you're just enjoying the most beautiful delicacies. We're getting into autumn time now. The chestnuts, for example, are one very very famous delicacy of Galicia, and you can pretty much smell them all over the cities. When summertime comes, it's fish time. So yeah, there's always something to please everybody food wise.
And tell me, how can I go to Santiago? How can I reach Santiago from, let's say, US, UK, Ireland? How do I get to Santiago de Compostela?
Santiago has its own airport, so it is very well connected. I mean, not transatlantically, of course. It's more like a regional airport, but it also has plenty of international flights. It is very well connected with Dublin, London, Paris, Frankfurt, Rome as well, and then, of course, Madrid and Barcelona, which are generally the gateways for everyone coming from overseas to make their way into Europe. So while there's no direct flights from the States or from Australia, it's really really easy to catch a connecting flight, and generally they are very very cheap. They could go for as little as 40-50 euro.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And tell me, could you give me some information about the pilgrim passport and the certificate? What it is for? How does it work?
Sure thing. The pilgrim passport that you see there pictured on the screen, it is one of the oldest documents really that were in use in the Camino de Santiago. They used to be used to prove that the pilgrim was actually doing the pilgrimage, and they were entitled to a little ration of food, to a bit of bread, to an egg, a bit of water, and they were allowed to sleep overnight in a house. You had to give rest, or you had to give a bed to the pilgrim back in medieval ages. Obviously, it has changed quite a little bit. Don't expect to knock on somebody's door and be very welcome. You probably would, but it's taking a chance. But what you use it for these days is to claim your Compostela certificate when you get to the very end of your Camino. So if you cover at least 100 kilometers walking or 200 kilometers cycling, and you collect two stamps per day, the stamps you can get in any cafe, any restaurant, any bar, any church, any albergue along the way. You will find plenty of places to stamp your pilgrim passport. And once you get to Santiago, you simply need to go to the pilgrim's office, present your pilgrim passport duly completed, and you will be awarded your Compostela. And if you want to pay a little donation as well, you will get a certificate of distance. So it will also certify and show how far you've come to visit the tomb of the Apostle St. James.
When is the best time to go on the Camino?
Best time, I could say May and September. Weather-wise, it's not as hot as the summer months, like June to August, and it's not as rainy as the winter or spring, autumn months. So from late November to early April,
Yeah.
you will still find some rain and a little bit of cooler weather. And so probably May and September being a bit of the shoulder seasons, they could be very, very good for weather, for dry weather, but still cooler temperatures as well, which are very, very welcome when you're tackling a 28, 29 kilometer walk.
So I'm going to add something. It's just in the center of Spain, Meseta. So let's say León, Burgos, Logroño, Ponferrada can be really hot in July and August. But around Santiago, the average temperature in July is about 25 degrees. So around Santiago for the last 100 kilometers, July and August is not so much of an issue. But if you were to do the whole Camino Frances, the whole French way, well, you would probably tackle spring or fall rather than the full height of summer. In this next slide, you can see the number of pilgrim per month. So also there is less pilgrim from March to June, and then September, October, there's less pilgrim, because generally in July and August you got also Spanish pilgrim and students, so there's a little bit more people in July and August. So another reason for going on the shoulder seasons, really. And next year is a very important year. It's the Holy Year. When was the last Holy Year, Juanma? Was it 10 years or something ago?
I'd have to check my books, but I think it was 2010,
2010. That's
if
when
I
they did the
remember
famous
well.
movie, I think, The Way, yeah? With Martin Sheen. So,
Indeed, yeah. That's a year the movie came
mm,
out. Indeed, it was 2010. I did remember well. That was the year I moved here, so
mm,
it's really really long time ago.
yeah,
And the holy years, the Anos Jacobeos, they 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 are special dates, and it's a time of particular celebration because the festivity of Saint James, the 25th of July, falls on a Sunday. Now that happens I believe it's 5, 7, and 11 years, if I remember well, Roland.
yeah,
Now, don't take my word for it. You can visit our website to find more information about the holy year. And if I
yeah,
did forget the correlation of years, please forgive me for that. I have loads of things to remember.
yeah,
But it is definitely a very, very nice time to visit Santiago. Not only it's a big festivity on the 25th of July, but during Anos Jacobeus, there's loads of performances on the street. There's loads of festivities around it, and pretty much the 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it, it's full with activities dedicated to pilgrims, dedicated to the Camino, and it creates a really, really nice vibe, really nice atmosphere to add to an already very atmospheric experience like walking the Camino is.
go ahead.
So, Roland, you've been
Yeah.
in many trips before. So I think I'm gonna leave this slide for you because you can better than anyone tell people what to pack. Really.
Well, it depends. If you do the Camino independently, so without organizing your trip, going on yourself, just fly there, then you will have to pack your sleeping bag. You will have to pack all your clothes for every day until you can actually wash. Probably every week, you can probably in a big city find a place and wash and spend a couple of nights. If you go with us, we transfer your luggage every day. So you have your suitcase. Your suitcase will follow you every day. We'll have it at the hotel by 4 o'clock. So during the day you can really travel light. Just like a little light rain jacket in case there's some shower. Nothing too bad. Sun hat and sun cream, maybe some bars for the days and some water, but that's pretty much it. You don't need much to if we you have your luggage with you, just your small backpack with you. Um, so the 10 tips there is, well, when we say pick the right route, is the Camino Frances is the most popular. It's the probably the one with the most buzz, because that's where is the most pilgrims. So you got little cafe every 5 kilometers, every 1 hour of your walk, and there's people from all over the world. So it's a really good walk if you've never done the Camino, if you don't know if you're gonna like it. I mean, it's probably good to pick a week. And the other question is to ask yourself is, do you want to see Santiago? If you want to see Santiago, then do 1 week at the end. Do the last 100 kilometers, start in Saria, do your 6 night and walk to Santiago de Compostela, it's a good option. If you're not worrying about seeing Santiago, then you could start and walk in the mountains of the Pyrenees. That's a beautiful option with fantastic scenery and great little village in the mountains. So I would totally recommend that. Or just spend a week in the Rioja region across the vineyard. That's also very rewarding. Um, yeah, don't forget to practice and try your shoes beforehand. Make sure you're able to do your 10-15 kilometer walk, one day after another. And yeah, and just do some research. There's some ways along the coast as well that you can explore. So um, yeah, you can go on CaminoWays.com and look at our blog. There is 800 pages of general information, or just drop us an email on info@CaminoWays.com. We'll be happy to help you. We have also a training and fitness guide. It's on the format of an ebook. So you go on our website, you just go and download and put it on your computer or on your phone and read page by page like an ebook. Our fitness guide. We've got a few videos as well on our YouTube of how to prepare and get fit for your Camino. And we're coming towards the end of our presentation, Juanma.
We are indeed, and of course, we couldn't leave anyone without waving the most popular greeting in the Camino experience, which is a buen camino. That expression that you will hear all over all throughout your experience, wishing everybody a good way, and in a very symbolic way, a good life.